together, and congratulations on your new venture. You've done amazing things in your career, and I know you're going to do amazing things here. And so it was an honor to be asked to speak, and then had a great conversation with Jim last night. So I want to thank him and Adam and Kevin, and it just hearing about what this company is doing is really exciting. And so, who is Darin Kidd? It's always weird for me to hear when people say a lot of great things about me, because I know the backstory, right? And you're going to know it in just a second. And, sometimes I'm like, man, they must have invited somebody else to speak. Is it still going to be me? And I'm like, okay, well, I guess that did happen. But during my career, people normally hear about the multiple seven figures that I made, which is great. Don't get me wrong. They hear about me personally recruiting over 1,000 people in my career, being involved in network marketing for 28 years. And, I had several thousand personal customers during my career. I was recognized for top retention, top recruiting, teams of several 100,000 people all over the world. Forget all of that, right? That's good, because I think it's important that you understand that I went out there and I did the do. But what I can't wait to share with you, because that's not to impress you, but to express to you that if I can do it, anyone can do it. And that's true, right? It's absolutely true. I built without social media, back in the day when it was VHS tapes and audio cassette tapes. I'm telling you my age, right? And then I had no social media presence. Then I went and built a brand of several 100,000 people online. And so the reason I tell you that is because the story behind the story is more exciting than that part. I failed for 7 solid years. 7. Okay. I used to not be a very fast learner. It took me a while to really get it. And I got to the point. Let me know if anybody else has ever been to this point. Okay. And if you can have your camera on, as long as everything is kosher and you're dressed, we'd love to see your beautiful smiling faces. I don't know what happened before with the camera, but I love it. How many of you have been to the point where you go like, you know what? I will never do it again. I am done. I was a part of the NFL club, the No Friends Left club. I was like, and I remember telling my wife one time, I was in Toys R Us, because my wife and I have 5 kids, by the way, from 27 down to 12, which I always tell people, be careful. Like if you work from home, you can have a bunch of kids. That's what we did. We were in Toys R Us, a store, and somebody walked up to us and they go, hey, don't I know you? And I go, are you in this company? And I gave them a name of a company, and they're like, yeah, are you? And I'm like, no, you all use the same pickup line. Yeah, I'm not in that company. And when he walked away, I told my wife, I'm like, the next person that approaches me, I don't care if it's at church on Sunday, I'm going to lay hands on them. All right. I'm going to smack them, because I never want to hear about it again. So what changed? After 7 years, I ended up bankrupt on government assistance. I had my car repossessed. I live in a town still to this day. We're up to now 5 traffic lights. So I think it's actually 1,500 people in our town, about 10,000 in the county, and that goes out for many miles and farms. So I live in a small country town in Virginia. I didn't make it through college. I'm a college dropout. My wife's a college dropout, right? I was depressed. I went to the doctor for depression. When you can't feed your kids, you can't support your wife, you can't keep a job, couldn't make it through college. I had very little to no hope. So I'm very thankful that someone came into my life that looked at me not as how I was, but how I could be with my potential. And so that story should motivate and inspire every single one of you, because it's a true story, right? It's not like I was born with money, came from money, I got into the business and everything exploded. That's not the way it happened for me. But I learned some valuable lessons. One, why spend your whole life trying to figure out what to do right when you can listen to someone that spent their life trying to figure out what to do, and they figured it out, and they put it in a book. They put it in a course, right? You hire them as a mentor or coach or whatever you're doing, and you can shave years off of your learning curve. So that's why I'm speaking to you today. I don't want you to spend 28 years trying to figure out some of the things that I figured out. I want to be able to compress time frames within this one training and maybe shave several months off your learning curve, or more, depending on where you are. Now, the challenge that I have when I'm doing a training like this is there's some of you, you're brand new, right? Like this is the first time you've ever done any type of home-based business, network marketing, direct sales. There's some of you that have made a lot of money. like Carl, right? And you've been around the block and you know what it takes to build a business. So my thing is, if I can give each of you, if you only get one thing out of this training, it was worth it, right? It only takes that one thing. And it's not enough to have the numbers to the combination. It's what order do you put the numbers? Like you can have a vault that have everything you've ever wanted in that vault. You have the numbers, but it's important to know what order do you enter the numbers. And so if I can give you one thing today, it was worth it. Okay, so I just wanted to set that up. When it comes to building a big business or building a business in network marketing, there are three things that you have to be successful, right? And if you don't have these three things, and by the way, I'm going to give you some very basic things. And if you're like me, I used to say things like, man, skip this stuff, just get to the how-tos. Anybody else ever been like that? Like, give me the how-tos. I don't need the hype. I don't need the attitude, mindset stuff. Later, I found out that if we don't have that right, you never make it to the how-tos. So I'm going to give you some very basic things because basics create wealth when it comes to building your network marketing business. Basics create a big team. Basics create success. Fancy will destroy your business because fancy doesn't duplicate. The definition of wealth when it comes to building a big business in network marketing is to get a large group of people to do a few simple things over a consistent period of time. Let me repeat that again. A large group of people to do a few simple things over a consistent period of time. You don't want 10 ninjas that know everything about everything. You want a bunch of people doing simple things. When people go, Darren, well, I'm just busy. Well, I built my biggest team. There was several 100,000 people with 5 kids, 2 franchises, right? And if any of you, how many of you have ever had a traditional business? Anyone? Right? It's like having additional children. You don't own the business owns you. But if you build it right, like it's okay. You can build it on a part-time, spare time basis. You have the potential to build a full-time income on a part-time, spare time basis if you do it the right way. So 3 things that you have to have. If you don't have these, probably not going to make it. But the great news is that you're on this training or you're watching the replay, you probably have all 3 of these things. Number 1, you have to be coachable. You have to be coachable. Most people go, yeah, I'm coachable. And that's code for, as long as you're telling me what I feel comfortable with, I'm coachable. Well, here's a big tip. If it rubs you the wrong way, it was probably meant for you because it was meant for me. Because if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to keep getting what we're getting. And the same thinking that got us where we are is not the same thinking that gets us to the next level, right? The definition of insanity is doing what we've always done and yet expecting to get something different. I've had doctors that have come into my business, okay? And I'm no longer a distributor. After 28 years, I'm full-time training, speaking, coaching. It's always been a dream of mine. And so I'm talking about what I did in the field for 28 years. I've had doctors that used to come onto my team. They go, I am a doctor. Like, I am not going to do these little simple, cheesy things that you're teaching me to do. They fail fast and they failed hard. Then I've had doctors that have come on board and they go, you know what? I'm smart enough to know I went to school to be a doctor for this many years and I spent that kind of money. This is completely different. Tell me what to do. I'm in. And they had massive success. So you have to leave your background at the door. People come in, I'm a salesperson. I can sell anything to anyone. Well, you know what? That's not good unless you're selling a third-party tool and you're doing things that are duplicatable. So you have to be coachable. If you look at McDonald's, there's 30,000 plus McDonald's all over the world. How many of you agree they do not have the best hamburger in the world, right? For sure. They have a system. You wouldn't spend millions of dollars on a McDonald's, go to Hamburger University, right, and reinvent the wheel. Everybody work with me for a second, okay? We're gonna get somebody that unmuted there. You would, for example, if you're facing the McDonald's counter, I want you to participate, okay? If your body's moving, your brain is grooving. They've proven that you retain more if you're moving and interactive, right? So it's hard on a Zoom. So what can you do on a Zoom to interact? You can bob your head and give me a thumbs up, right? You can take notes. You can, if there's a chat going on. So if your body's moving, your brain is grooving. How many of you, if you're standing at the front of McDonald's, the counter, the fry machine is on which side? Show me with your hand. Okay, the left side. The shake machine is on which side? The right side. What color's a cheeseburger wrapper? Yellow. Yep, I see your mouths, right? Y'all need to stop eating at McDonald's so much. No, I'm joking, right? We all know because that's the system, right? You don't change the system. You don't go, hey, you know what? I want to change the recipe. If they say, hey, you know what? Every time someone says, I want to buy a burger, you want to go, hey, do you want a combo meal? Do you want to it used to be supersize it. You wouldn't say that for a few days. And they go, you know what? I'm bored. We want to mix it up at our McDonald's. No, you're going to say the same things over and over and over again until you feel like your lips are going to fall completely off because you repeated it so many times. When it comes to building a successful business, you master the mundane. You continue to do the same basic things every single day, right? So you have to be coachable. You follow the system. Your leadership, your company did not get to be where it is, not knowing what to do, right? You've got phenomenal products, breakthrough products. I was talking to Jim about that and Carl about that, right? You've got great leaders in your company, right? Upline leadership, corporate leadership. You've got great compensation plan. You've got all the pieces of the puzzle. You just have to be coachable and have faith that you know it's going to work if you do the work. Number two, that brings me to number two, is willing to work. Willing to work. It's called network marketing, not net play marketing, not let me wait until the upline bills it for me marketing, right? You have to put in the work. Here's the challenge of what you do, okay? How does someone come into the company? I'm in. How do they get out of the company? I'm out. What's easy to do is easy not to do. You lead a voluntary army, which means that most people won't do it. There's a reason at age 65, 97% of the people are broke because the masses aren't willing to go out there and do what they need to do. Now, that's not you, right? If we want something different than the masses, we have to be willing to do something different than the masses. The masses on a Saturday are not wanting to jump on a Zoom training and get better. But successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. Very rarely will you ever feel like doing the work. I'm just being honest with you, right? Now, if you invested in a franchise, we had frozen yogurt franchises, right? I mean, so fun, so cool until I bought them. We invested $400,000 in one, $300,000 in another. Well, you are in it to win it. You're working 8 to faint, can to can't, for several years, and you pray that you get your money back. The challenge with what we do is for less than the price of your smartphone, they can join your business. And what's easy to do is easy not to do. Now, what's the potential with your business? Well, when I was working, I'd spent $700,000 in 2 franchises, but my network marketing income in 1 month was more in 1 month than both those franchises combined in a year. Is that crazy? And I could work in my pajamas. I could take my kids to school. I could pick my kids up from school. I was one of the only dads on the field trips. We could go to the beach or go to Disney World. And they go, when are you coming home? And I'm like, that was all the negative friends and family that said it would never work. Hey, when are you coming home? Well, we're ready because we have no job, right? To me, that was freedom. But I had to be willing to pay the price to get to the other side. So yes, you have to be willing to put in the work. And I'm going to talk to you about a couple other things in just a second that really hit that home. Most people look for work. Wealthy people build networks. Most people look for work. Wealthy people build networks. Number 3, desire. Desire. Now, how do you create desire? You know why you're in the business. It's not the money. If somebody goes, hey, Darren, I'm in it to make $1,000 a month, they're going to quit. It's what are you going to do with the money? You have to have a crystal clear picture. I could actually do an entire training for the next hour and not finish on the importance of understanding why you're building your business. Because your brain doesn't know the difference. Here's the thing. The day that I learned my why, okay, How many of you have ever had someone tell you, or we've been guilty of saying, someday we'll go do this, someday we'll go do that? Well, my dad passed away 10 years ago saying, someday we'll go do this. And I've learned that someday leads to a town called nowhere. And I've also learned that some people's some days are other people's every days. So for me, 21 years ago, when I'm bankrupt, car repossessed, on Medicaid, applying for food stamps, depressed, all those things, I remember we had this big Coca-Cola plastic piggy bank, and I told my oldest daughter, someday we'll go to Disney World, someday. And we're going to put this change in this piggy bank, and we're going to use it to go to Disney World. Well, one day she walked into the room, and I had it on the floor, and I was going through the change just to try to find enough to get money to eat. And she runs in and sees me taking that money for Disney and runs out of the room crying. And I remember looking up going, God, how can I get this low where I'm taking my child's money for Disney World? And that was my day of disgust. That was the day I drew a line in the sand, because see, sometimes it doesn't hurt bad enough. Sometimes we have, how many of you have friends and family? You love them, you care about them, but they won't even participate in their own rescue. You throw them the life jacket, they won't even grab it. So I remember getting off my knees with tears in my eyes, going into the other room and putting on my wall, I will until. I will until. And then a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, said, Darren, success is buried right underneath frustration. And I'm like, well, you know what? I have to be close because I can't get any more frustrated, right? And at that point, I knew my why. I'm like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I refuse to live like this for the rest of my life. And my family deserves a better life than this. And other people can quit on their family. I am not quitting on mine. So your why, knowing why you're building the business, that's what helps you stay strong enough, long enough to get through those challenges. And anything you ever achieve in life, you have to achieve in your head first. You have to see it in your mind before you ever see it in reality. And again, I could talk a whole hour on the power of the mind. We think 70 to 90,000 thoughts a day. The majority of those thoughts are the same thoughts that we thought yesterday. Over 95% of your decisions on a daily basis are subconscious. And so what's really powerful is when you visualize a goal or a dream, you achieving that award with the company, you getting that rank advancement, you buying that new car, you paying off your credit card debt, you being able to be a stay-at-home parent, retire your spouse, whatever that may be, your brain does not know the difference. And this is proven by science. This is not my opinion. Your brain does not know the difference in reality in what you tell it. So when you visualize that experience, your body produces the same chemicals and endorphins as if the experience actually happened. It encodes it as a memory. So you can actually experience an experience before you ever experience it. And so when the late billionaire, Paul J. Meyer, that mentored me for over a decade, said we magnetize the condition that we seek. Your thoughts are things. Your thoughts and what you speak are a self-fulfilling prophecy. What you think about, you truly do bring about, period. So my question to you is, do you have a crystal clear picture of why you're building the business? I just did a training for a company where we did a dream board training. And so for an hour, I talked about the science behind why it's so important, because you want to think here, most of our memories are the past. Don't look back unless you want to go that way. You have to focus on where you're going. You have to focus on what you want. And that vision is a magnet that pulls you into the future. And the clearer the picture of your future, the more goal-directed your actions are on a daily basis. What thou seest, thou beest. So when the late billionaire Paul Meyer said, hey, do a dream board, I remember going, are you kidding me? I'm like, are we in kindergarten? And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's his private jet. It's not mine. He's the one that at that point had given $400 million to charity, not me. He was the one that paid for 1,000 kids a year to go to college, not me. He was the one that had 40 companies in 60 countries that did billions of dollars, not Darin Kidd. I'm like, if he says do a dream board, I do a dream board. So now I have my goals and dreams everywhere. So I've got them on my phone. Do you know you check your phone an average of several hundred times a day? And so there's a filter, and I'll end with this before we go to the next part. I don't want to get too deep, called the Reticular Activating System. It's RAS for short. It's a filter in your mind that allows things in to serve your goals and blocks things out that don't serve your goals. Let me give you an example. How many of you never noticed how many cars are on the road like the one you're driving until you bought it? Okay? Some of you are laughing. Were they there before? Yes. It's the awareness, right? You have to tell your brain, excuse me, tell your brain what you want, and your brain wants to be right. So for example, I used to say things like, I can't afford it. Your subconscious mind throws into your conscious mind because it wants to be right. Here are all the reasons you can't afford it, instead of asking myself, how can I afford it? So when you go, I can't recruit, I can't get a customer, your brain wants to be right. It's gonna prove itself right. So start asking the right questions. Think about what you think about. And then last but not least, new science proves that a negative thought is 4 to 7 times more powerful than a positive. But here's the kicker. When you verbalize it, it multiplies it by 10, which means there's a 40 to 70 times more likelihood of it happening. So think about what you think about. Pay attention to what you speak. I used to say I can't remember it, but now I go, hey, it'll come back to me shortly. I'll think about it in just a second. How can I afford it? Not I can't afford it. How can I recruit? How can I make a bigger impact? Empowering questions equal empowering answers. So that's just a real quick little why. Why are you in the business? Because here's the way the business is going to work. How many of you want me to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear? Let me see some hands. Okay, even if you don't have your camera on, raise your hand. Okay, you gave me permission. It's an emotional roller coaster. If you have not felt like quitting, you have not been in the business long enough. Just give it some time. It'll probably happen this week, right? It's an emotional roller coaster. You're going to get in and you're going to be exactly where Carl said. You're going to be like a chihuahua jacked up on Red Bull. You're going to be in the no sleep zone because your dream machine had a lot of dust on it and it hadn't been activated in many years because we're in a box, the people around us. And so now you're starting to go, man, maybe I don't have to work until I die. Maybe I can live my dream lifestyle. Maybe these things can happen. You're excited. But then you go talk to some of your friends and family that you knew would see what you saw. And they say some stupid stuff. They're going to, oh, you didn't join one of those things, did you? Those things are scams. They don't work. Do you know how crazy that sounds? That's like saying, you go to the gym? Are you kidding me? Do you know how many people I know that go to the gym that are still out of shape? Those gyms are scams. It's not that gyms don't work. It's that people don't work. So you go from the I'm so excited I can't sleep phase to the self-doubt phase. Maybe my negative friends and family are right. Maybe I don't have any hope. But remember, that's when your why. When you sit there and you go, you know what? I don't care how many people I have to talk to. I don't care how many hours a week I have to work. Like, I refuse to quit on my family. These are the reasons. So every time I felt like quitting, I would rewind that picture in my mind of my daughter running out of the room, and it would help me stay strong enough, long enough to go through the process. Now, one thing that I didn't know back then when I was going through all these challenges, if someone would have told me, hey, Darin, you're bankrupt, you can't feed your kids, you couldn't make it through college, you can't keep a job, you failed in network marketing for 7 years, this is awesome. I wouldn't have taken it too well. But looking back, I found out that when you're in that valley, it's not the easy times that make you grow. You do not grow in easy times. The obstacles lead to elevation. Without obstacles, there is no elevation. But you have to have the right perspective. You have to go, you know what? I don't get paid. I get paid based on the size of the problems that I can solve. Big problems equal big paychecks. When people used to come up to me and go, Darin, you don't understand, people take my product. They stole my product. And I would say to them, hey, listen, if my check is bigger than your check, it's just I've had more people steal my product than you have. Well, yeah, but I've got all these people and nobody's doing anything. The only difference in my team and your team, if I'm making more money than you, is I have more people doing nothing than you do. So if you want some more people doing something, go get some more people doing nothing. True story. Somebody said, Darin, you don't understand. I went to a party and one person showed up. Oh, yeah? I drove 3.5 hours one time one way, and the person doing the party didn't show up. And then I had to drive 3.5 hours home because I couldn't afford a hotel room. And true story, I'm pulling over doing jumping jacks on the side of the road every 15 minutes. And I was having to be a cheerleader for myself, going successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. I will do today what others won't to have tomorrow what others don't, right? So don't just go through the challenges. You want to grow through the challenges. If today Carl and Jim introduced me and they told you about my success, and I got on here and I go, hey, you know what? I'm not sure what's wrong with y'all, but everybody I talked to joined. Everybody I brought in the business rank advanced. Everyone I invited to an event, they all showed up. You would be gone a long time ago. It's the story of all my challenges, like Carl said, that motivate and inspire you, because you know that if I can do it, you can do it. You just need someone to show you where to navigate those minefields, right? If you go through a minefield, you want to follow someone that's already been through there, because they know where to step and where not to step. So when you're going through that, that's the process. Don't get mad at the process. The late Jim Rohn says, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Then you have someone call you back and they go, hey, Karen, you've never seen anybody do what I'm going to do. I'm going to make you rich, right? You're back up. You're back up in the no sleep zone. 2 weeks later, Karen, they go into witness protection, right? They don't answer your calls. They block you on social media. You're back down. It is an emotional roller coaster. Now, the good thing is, okay, as you're going through it, growing through it, eventually your low will be bigger than your previous high. It'll continue to go up. And I remember when I was, at the top of a company and they go, man, I'm glad I'm not you. You run an adult daycare, or you've got some pretty big challenges. I'm like, you know what? I don't mind being a several $1 million problem solver. I don't mind having a multiple six-figure adult daycare, right? Because I went through challenges. My job was challenges. My job was hard. Building a business, there's challenges. Building a business is hard. My job, for me, never gave me the ability to ever have the lifestyle that I wanted for my family. At least this does. I'm going to pick my hard, right? I'm going to pick which one. I'm going to work on my job full-time, but I'm going to work on my fortune part-time. Is this ringing? Is this hitting home with any of you? Any aha moments? Any aha moments? Let me give you another thing. Time versus money. There's normally a chart that I show in front of a room where I talk about the first year you get in. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm working this hard. Look at this paycheck. Are you kidding me? Like, I would be better off working minimum wage at a local fast food joint. But at first, you're going to work harder than you get paid to eventually get paid for more than you do. But you have to be willing to put in the work. And you don't have to take that out 5 years. You can compress time frames if you would like. So it is an emotional roller coaster. You are going to put in more work in the beginning than you get paid to eventually, the goal is to get paid for more than you're doing, but it's going to be worth it. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't mind paying the price if the promise is clear. And by the way, I do have a free resource. You don't have to enter any, it's completely free. If you go to DarinKidd.com/3 keys, you can download those 3 keys that I talked about on a PDF that we just had designed, DarinKidd.com/3 keys. All right. There's also another resource that I'll tell you about that's free. 25 tips to crush your Facebook marketing. So if you go to DarinKidd.com/Facebook, and what I did was I give you some tips on how I built. I've got probably 180, 200,000 people total on Facebook, but I'll give you some tips on what to do, what not to do when it comes to marketing yourself on Facebook, because we don't have time to get into all of that. But DarinKidd.com/3 keys and /Facebook, a couple just resources, my gift to you. Now let's talk about the timing of network marketing. This is really important. Before COVID, before quarantine, there was network marketing's over 100 years old, okay, in direct sales. Over 100 million people participate worldwide. It was $180 billion profession. Before COVID, we had to tell people, we had to sell people. Yeah, right? We had to convince them, hey, have you ever thought about maybe thinking about finding a way to work from home? Have you ever thought about having a plan B? Hey, what if you got laid off? Have you ever thought about that? Do we ever have to sell anyone on that ever again? No, no. The world is conspiring to do us good. That was an affirmation the late billionaire Paul Meyer taught me. The world is conspiring to do me good. Like, you never have to sell that again. There's low-hanging fruit everywhere. If you don't share with them your opportunity, someone else is going to share, right? Because they're looking for a way to supplement they're going, okay, well, how do I supplement my income? Well, I can go launch a traditional business. Do you know of anyone that really wants to go launch a traditional business right now and put their name on a several-year lease? What if we have to go back into quarantine, right? They can't go open their doors. They're going to be mandated to shut their doors. You really have the best business model on the planet, right? Lower investment, lots of support. Like our franchise, massive investment, virtually no support, massive commitments, employees. We got robbed at one location. An employee stole 50 to 100,000, we're guessing, from another location. You don't own the business owns you. It's tough. Here you have minimal investment, less than the price of a smartphone. You're in business for yourself, not by yourself. The world is already shared with everyone why they need to have a plan B and to be able to generate income from home. All you've got to do is let them know that your doors are open. And if you're not willing to share your products, and I'm just being real with you, right? I mean, I'm on here. I would rather you respect me and generate some income and achieve your goals and dreams than like me, be nice and just like me and not do that. So I'm going to be honest with you, right? Do you really believe in your products and services, your products? If you do, how many of those have you shared on your Facebook, in your phone, that you work with? Because you're not convincing them, you're just sharing with them, hey, here's what we do. It may or may not be for you. And if it's not, it's completely okay. But I just wanted to let you know. Or maybe I'm contacting, for example, Martina. Is that how you say your name, Martina? Okay, so maybe I'm contacting Martina. Hey, listen, my wife and I are really excited. We found a way to be able to generate some extra income from home on social media. I'm not sure if you're open or not. If you are, I'd love to send you some information. If not, no worries, no big deal. Is that offensive? No. So it's just taking people from not knowing what you're doing to knowing. So not only do you have the right timing of the industry, but when I got some more details of your company and where you are as far as a business, I was involved in a company right where you are right now, okay? Where, most people didn't know about it, except you're having phenomenal growth. You've got breakthrough products. That's exactly where I was. And what I did was I cast the vision. And I told people, I'm like, listen, vision is seeing it before the masses see it. They asked Helen Keller, what's worse than being blind? She said, having sight with no vision. Or the late Dr. Miles Monroe said, sight is a function of the eyes. Vision is a function of the heart. So right here in Virginia where I am, right? And this is back before we had all the social media that we have now. Now you can build it even faster. I took this group of people and go, listen, if we'll do for the next 12 to 24 months what most people would never do, we can live a life that most people will never live. And I go, and we're going for it. We took a picture of that room. So for example, you have this Zoom and it's recorded. You can never say you weren't in the right place at the right time ever again because they have it on video, right? And so I go, look, we're going to take a picture. You can't say 12 to 24 months from now that you weren't here. And we're going to go out and we're going to do this thing. And not everybody's going to see it. Almost every single one of my close friends quit. They weren't willing to do it. They didn't see the vision. They weren't willing to pay the price. They weren't willing to put in the work. But if you fast forward several years later, 3 years ago, our local event, not a company event, was 4,000 people at the Richmond Convention Center for a regional training. That's bigger than most companies' conventions. And I had people to put the first picture up and that picture up. And I'm like, you have to see it here before you ever see it in reality. Does that make sense? So your company, they're going to have explosive growth. The network marketing direct sales industry is having explosive growth. Right now it's August 22nd when we're videoing this, right? We're going through the summer months. And if you do I used to say things like this. Well, you know what? It's the summer. There's a lot of distractions. I'll really crank it when it comes to fall. That was a bad mistake, right? I used to say things like, well, I'll start doing these things you're telling me to do when I have a big team. And then my mentors taught me, Darren, that's the wrong attitude. The attitude comes before the team. The attitude comes before the paycheck. If you want to have those things, start doing these things now. So when it comes to the summer months, when I started thinking, this is the time we gain market share. This is the time we work extra hard because we're preparing for the next season, which is fall. And in fall is a massive harvest time when it comes to network marketing, right? So then we go into the holiday season. You teach your team how to work through the holiday season. Well, right now, basically, is setting up your 2021. So I'm working with 2 different companies and teams right now. And I've been painting the picture, casting the vision, teaching them what to do. One of the teams, 3 months of decline, just had their biggest month ever in July during the summer months. They're 30% ahead of where they were last month. Another team, the same thing, and a big team. Okay, it's one thing if it's a small team or small company, these are big. This other team, I'm telling them the same thing. I'm like, look, don't pay attention to what these other people say. Let the other teams think that, not you. Let other companies think that, not you. This is the time you gain market share. And they went out and they've been working and working and working. I'm like, look, focus on progress, not perfection. Don't worry about being the best. Let's just do what we need to do to move forward. Can we get a little bit better today than we were yesterday? That team, biggest month ever last month. They're 30% ahead this month of where they were last month. What do you think is going to happen when fall comes around, right? They're going to have a massive explosion. They're preparing for the next season. So you're in the great space with massive growth. Everyone in the world now knows they need a plan B. They would love to be able to work from home. You have the solution to their problem. You have a phenomenal company with breakthrough products exclusive to you that no one else has. You have systems that allow people on a part-time, spare time basis to build a big business, right? You got people that believe in you, which is why they reached out to me wanting to invest in the field, going, hey, man, can you come on here and help these people achieve their goals and their dreams? Yes, right? It's a win-win-win situation for every single one of you. And then a couple more things. Here's the way it's going to work. Again, you told me to tell you what you needed to hear, not what you wanted to hear. What happened to me that changed my world, I was sitting in the back of a room having a pity party for myself when I would go, they must come from big cities. I live in a small town. They were getting ready to repossess my car. I hid the car to make it to this big event, slept in my car, drove all night. I go, well, it's easy for them. They must live in a big city. I live in a small town. Well, they must have a college education. I have a lack of education. They must be great public speakers. I'll pass out in front of 5 people. True story. Like if you would have ever told me when Carl City was on the front row in front of 25,000 people and I'm dancing around and loving it, well, back years ago, I would pass out if it was 5 people that I knew, right? And then I heard a mentor of mine saying, listen, can you because I didn't feel like I could do it. And then I heard a mentor say, can you get a little bit better today than you were yesterday? And I'm like, well, I can do that. Can you read 10 pages out of a good book? Well, a day, it's hard for me to focus reading 10 pages, being honest, but I can if I have to reread it a few times. Well, if you can read 10 pages out of a good book a day, that's about a book a month. So in 10 years, you've read 100. Most people don't read a book a year. They hadn't read 10. So that compound effect kicks in. How many of you have ever heard about the penny a day and double it for 30 days? I asked my girls this other day, my little girls, I'm like, would you rather have $1 million in cash or a penny a day and double it for 30 days? One of them said $1 million in cash. The other one said, okay, well, I'll say a penny a day. And I'm like, well, if you chose $1 million in cash, you lost 10 million. And so we took the calculator on the phone and we went through and I'm like, look, 3 weeks into it, you're thinking I made a huge mistake. I should have taken the $1 million in cash. The last few days it compounds. So when it comes to building your business, it's doing the simple disciplines on a daily basis that seem to make no difference at all doing them. Or the errors in judgment. If we walked into McDonald's and there's someone on the floor and you go, what happened? And they go, well, they ate a Big Mac, French fries, milkshake, and they died of a heart attack on the spot. We would never do that again. But it wasn't the Big Mac, French fries, and milkshake they ate that day. And I know this is a bad visual, but you will remember it. They slowly dug a grave with their teeth. So the simple disciplines, you on here and other people aren't. You jump off here. Are you going to see a massive difference in your business today? No. You can't change your business overnight. You can't change your life overnight, but you can dang sure change the direction of your business or life overnight. So for me, it was frustrating because I was doing all these things. I'm reading the books. I'm listening to 15, 20 minutes of an audio every day. Today, I do hours of it a day. That's a whole nother training, but my rituals that I do every day. And you're sitting there going, man, they're not doing these. I am. And their business looks identical. Over a period of time, yours compounds and theirs does this. And then they will say things to you like they said to me. You must have gotten lucky. Oh, you must have gotten lucky. No, you were willing to do what they weren't willing to do to have what they don't have. So these are just some basic business principles that can help you go out there and build your business. And you go, well, you didn't really get into any how-tos. Well, we don't have time to get into how-tos. But if you have I'm trying to work on your philosophy, your attitude, the filter between your ears, because if you get that straight, have you ever noticed that some people are good at the how-tos, but they fail? And then other people are maybe not that good, but they have success? It's because it's not the how-tos, it's how you do the how-tos. And it could go in one ear just like a teenager and out the other ear if you don't change the way they think, how they take the information, how they process the information. So it used to frustrate the heck out. How many of you ever got frustrated because someone comes in and goes, treat it like a business? And I remember going, okay, I've never had my own business. What does that mean? Right? I mean, so I'm trying to help you have the mindset of what to do, what it's going to take to grow a successful business. Another thing that I want to just leave you with, just let you know, because I am, after 28 years, going into the world that I'm going into now, the training world, I put together a monthly membership group, and I have a founding member price. It is month to month. If you want to do it, you can. If you don't, that's okay too. It's basically $17 a month, $3 and something a week. I had actually been debating on shutting it down because I'm going live every single week and giving trainings like this. Sometimes they're 15 minutes, sometimes they're 45 minutes for $3 and something a week, 50 some cents a day. So if that is something that you're interested in, feel free to go to the number 3, mfactor.com. The 3M Factor. What do the 3 M's stand for? Be more, do more, have more. Those are the 3 M's. The3mfactor.com. You've got the DarinKidd.com site. I do some private coaching. It is more of an investment. That's for people that maybe have a team and they're looking for things like that. But my passion is helping other people, because I was like, man, if I'd have had someone for my first 7 years that could have taught me these things, it wouldn't have taken me 7 years to finally start getting some traction. And so that's why now my passion is helping other people get to where they want to be a lot sooner than later. And the good news is that the things that I teach, I've had people that go, Darin, I cannot believe you paid that person $15,000 for 6 hours, and an hour of that was your lunch. I'm like, well, I can't believe you wouldn't do that, right? Because I can shave years off of my learning curve. When I launched my YouTube channel, I hired one of the top 20 YouTubers in Forbes magazine, right? And they're like, why would you do that? Why would you pay all of that money? Because it was a massive investment. I'm like, because I don't want to spend years trying to figure out what he did. I want to shave time off my learning curve. I hired one of the top 10 social media people in the world in Forbes magazine that taught me how to build my brand. You go, how did you build several 100,000 people on social media? So that's why I love doing that for this profession, is because I can help people get to where they want to be sooner than later. So with that said, Carl, I appreciate you and Jim and the leadership having me out. And if all of you go, hey, Darin, you know what? I don't like your bald head. I don't like your training. It's okay. At least hopefully you got one thing out of it. But what would you be willing to do for the rest of this year if you knew you may never have to punch a time clock again unless you wanted to? Okay. What would you do? What would you be willing to do if you knew the next several months, like, I don't know if you have a goal to be my goal was, hey, look, I want to be the president of the 7-Eleven club. And people go, what is the 7-Eleven club? Well, I get up at 7 a.m. I watch my neighbors go to work. I drink my coffee. I wave at them and I go back to bed till 11. Right? The 7-Eleven club. Like, successful people do what unsuccessful people are not willing to do. You're in a great spot. You're in a great industry. You got great leadership. And the knowledge is not power. You can feel good about this training. Knowledge is potential power. Knowledge plus action equals power. I would take some of this information. I would get off the Zoom today and I would go immediately reach out to some people while you're excited and you're energetic to move the needle to get you to where you want to be. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. Working my job was uncomfortable. Being told how much I was worth was uncomfortable. Building your business is uncomfortable. But being uncomfortable now, building your business, stretching outside your comfort zone a little bit, will allow you to be comfortable for the rest of your life. And my thing is, if we're going to treat every day as if it's the last day of our life, one day we're going to be right. And I want to do as much good as I can with as many people as I can, as long as I can. And that's the beautiful thing about this business. You get to impact people with your products. You get to impact people with your business. I mean, for example, if you had the cure for cancer, we all know people in our family and our friends that have been affected by that nasty disease, right? If we had the cure for it, we would tell everybody. We would shout it from the rooftops. We don't, even if they didn't have it, you have the ability to help people with their health challenges. You have the ability to help kids get their parents back. Like, you have got the solutions to so many people's problems, and it's your obligation to share that with those people. It's just like our yoga franchises. You may hate yogurt. It didn't matter. I still wanted you to know that I had the yoga franchise, because you're going to know someone that does like it, right? So go out there and share the message that you have. Do something today that's going to move the needle in your business. And so, Carl, Jim, all the leadership in the company, I really appreciate you allowing me to jump on here, and I'm cheering for you and can't wait to hear your success stories as you go out and crush the rest of this year.
Darren, thank you so much, and just absolute pleasure having you on. I've missed hearing you. It's been several years, and I absolutely have missed hearing you. It is so simple, but it's not easy. So thank you very much. And what we'll do is Carl, I want to give you last words here for bringing on the man, Darin Kidd.
Okay, well, listen, it's been a good special hour, and I've got 4 pages of notes in small print. And Darin, it's been an honor to be able to host you on this call, and it's always fun to be with you, and I'm glad to say that we're friends. So I appreciate you taking this time to share with us today, and I appreciate everybody for being on the call. So I'm going to turn it back to you. Unless Kevin wants to say something, I'd love to hear from Kevin.
Darin, it's been a while since I've heard you speak, and I've been inspired this morning and lighting the old fire right back up here. So thanks for coming on. We appreciate your help.
Hey, my pleasure, Kevin. Anything else I can do to help you, let me know. Thank y'all so much.
Sure will. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to unmute the lines and let everyone say goodbye to Darin. And thank you.
And Darin, tell us the name of your website one more time, the 3M address.
It's the3mfactor.com. The number 3 MFACTOR.com.
Thank you, sir.
And DarinKidd.com, if you go there, if you contact me, if you have a hard time finding it, just fill out the contact me form and we'll get